So I'll hand over to Zakir, who we've been in touch on and off for maybe a year or more. But I finally saw you speaking before I actually got a chance to have that phone call that we kept promising each other. Please speak, okay, look, let's just skip it and get you up on stage. Always want to see fresh faces, or fresh to some of the conferences and panels that you might normally be invited to. We'd like to bring great speakers in, and you're one of those people that I haven't seen everywhere on every webinar, and have lots of interesting stuff to say. So I'm looking forward to hearing your session, and I'll hand over to you now. Thank you, Zakir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. And okay, guys, I would like to discuss some points with respect to deliverability, and primarily the importance of from and the reply to email headers. That's the agenda, that's the topic. So let's start. So thing is that, as they say, like sometimes the simple things make huge difference. So from that note, I would like to take the things ahead. So what happened is that we actually tend to give a lot of attention into a different part of email headers, especially the written part, the infrastructure part, if I would say, to be very precise, whether it is written part, and whether it is like the DCAM authentication or the SPF authentication, the DMARC, and all that stuff. But what happened is that from the deliverability perspective, sometimes it is just a matter of few things that you have to think about, or be very careful about, and that's what makes not only small but huge difference in over the period of time. So let me go ahead and right away jump on to my next slide. So what I did is, like, this will be a bit technical. I had taken some screenshots and some analysis that I had done, like from the very recent mail, a batch of some 30 odd mails, and I would like to highlight and basically share some insights as to what we can see. So let me just move on to the next slide. So there are basically, I would say, there are three parts of from email header. So I would say that the from email address is constructed in three parts. So first would be the from name, okay, which is the text string. The second, I would say, would be the from email ID, but it is actually divided again into the left hand side and the right hand side with @ as a delimiter. So I would like to take one thing at a time. Let's start with the from name text, what we can do and what we should do. So here you can see a screenshot of my mobile screen. So a lot of brands, a lot of companies are not utilizing, or maybe overutilizing, the text string portion or the playground that has been given to us. So a lot of time you would see just a couple of keywords, or maybe there's IMG or the TZ, anything like that, and it doesn't sound anything, doesn't mean anything. And sometimes you'll find a lot of sentence, kind of big sentence, and again, it's a lost opportunity. So this is a great way to connect to the audience, and connect to the users, and establish that who you are. And it's like, it's an attention span game. People, every day the attention span is going low and low. So how fast we can ensure that users are giving attention to the mails that we are sending. So the primary thing would be to fully utilize or optimize the from name text portion. So for Gmail, I can safely say this, you can play around 20-22 characters. But again, if you have a name like a military initial, something like that, with an I and L are more, we can always go up to 28 and 30. So it totally depends. You better do an A/B testing on it and make sure what works well. And yeah, that's it. I mean, so this is very crucial. And you can have a connect over here. People will trust you, and you can establish a connection between you and between the brand and the customer and the users. So this is basically a screenshot of the from field email addresses. I would come to the second portion. So this is like a sample batch that I had prepared, and if you can see, this is a general, like, random from email address that I could see. I would just make it a bit more easier to understand. So now we will focus only on the left hand side of the portion. So left hand side, these are the keywords, or these are the words which matters a lot. I would say I have personally executed, wherein, like, just by changing the LHS of the email ID, the deliverability of the mail changed. It landed from spam to inbox. and it matters a lot. So again, so it's very, very important, it's very critical. So you should know what is your business function, or what is the purpose of sending that email, whether it is a proper newsletter or whether it is a monitoring mail, what exactly it is. So this is how. And I would say refrain from using no replies as I would come to the point with it. I mean, I'll talk about the reply to addresses. So I would say refrain from no replies. That is ideally it should not be there. And this so this is the LHS, and now I would come to the second part, which is the RHS field, the domain portion. So here you can see a lot of companies are there, ranging from Amazon to Facebook to Entrepreneur India, and a lot of big companies over here. You can see many big companies are actually utilizing a proper subdomain strategy, and many not. So so what is my suggestion? So my suggestion is like, stick to subdomain depending upon what kind of purpose you are doing for that particular mail. If it is a marketing mail, you should have at marketing.yourdomain.com. And if it is a news mail, a newsletter, or maybe a transaction mail or a billing mail, anything, if it's an invoice, automated invoices, whatever you are having, ensure that you are utilizing and you're you using this RHS to your advantage. So use a subdomain, so that in case if some one of the subdomains screws up and the reputation goes down, maybe for XYZ reason, at least the whole domain doesn't get affected and it doesn't go for a toss. So you can always go for another subdomain and continue with whatever the activities you are doing. So uh, here are the recommendations that I have with respect to the from name. So again, coming to it, so you should actually use completely fully use the playground. And so ideally for Gmail, I would say one. So 80% of the 80% of every list belongs to Gmail, and Android being the most famous, and iPhone is next. So this 2022 characters is perfect. So make sure you're utilizing this. And your what you should do. So how to utilize it? So the next thing is a build trust by having a humanly name, like LNU's weekly edition, or maybe Magneto from X-Men, Ethan and from MI team, or Larry. So if there are a couple of guys, like they're a co-founder team, so you can always have a Larry and Sergey from Gogo, something like this. So when a user reads this, so this is the first thing that hits on the mobile, or this is where the attention goes. So this is where you can build trust, this is where you can build connection. And make sure whatever the name you're thinking, it has to be it has to have the remembrance power. So if you're creating a personal brand, always try to use some unique word in the LHS portion especially, and which users can recall, right? So that's it, like, now coming to the next point, which is from email addresses, the left hand side portion. So again, make sure to use functional names, whatever your department, whatever your division is. So make sure that you clearly define with this particular function, it defines the purpose of the email. So what is that email, whether it is a newsletter, whether it is support, whether it is managed services, whatever it is. So you have to write something like, newsletters at that, with the subdomain.domain.com, manage services at subdomain.domain.com. And again, I'll stick to my point, avoid no reply. I'll come to it later, why you should not have a no reply as your from email address, left hand side. And now coming to the the third portion, basically, which is the from email IDs, RHS, the right hand side. So this is the domain portion now. So domain is very, very crucial, because it gives signals to the mail service providers to how to treat your email. So what happened is that if you're working for a big company, definitely there will be multiple departments, there will be multiple activities that will be going on in the company, and every department would be communicating with the customer in a different manner. So better to, again, to use a functional name as a subdomain, which clearly defines the purpose of the email. So it's something like, I've given some examples like at marketing.killbill.com, or maybe at campaigns@godfather.com, anything like that. So basically so your subdomain should be your functional division, basically, whatever it is, whether it is billing, marketing, transport, anything. And then your main root domain, your company brand's domain. And you should avoid 100%, you should avoid the free webmail providers like Zakir at gmail.com or Zakir at Yahoo, anything like that. You should never use it as your uh, email ID from email ID. So yeah. So now coming. So there is like, So if you are doing a cold outreach, and which is again a very crucial activity for sales department, so never use your primary domain, because if you screw up with your primary domain, the root domain, so the whole activity goes for a toss, the whole reputation goes for a toss, your engagement mails, your transmits, or whatever the communication is going on, your you would ruin the complete umbrella. So better, so if you're starting a new campaign or new cold outreach, so you always have a subdomain. Let's say if domain is like abc.com primary domain, you should have something like abc.co, or maybe abc-x, or anything which resembles or which gives a signal that it actually belongs to your domain or your company as a brand, but the domain identity is completely different, so that if nothing works out, or if something goes bad, it doesn't reflect back on your primary domain, the root domain. So those would be my recommendations, particularly to the from email address, the from header. So I would now go to the second email header field under the topic today. So this is reply to email header. So this is your best friend. And I have seen, like, people, or many of the marketing campaigns are not utilizing this particular field to their advantage. As we can see, if you don't have a reply to address, so by default, the from, if you try to reply to an email, so by default it tries to reply to the from email address that you had mentioned. But let's say if the mail bounces, it goes to the written path address. Similarly, if someone wants to reply, they would go to the from email address, the original sender, the human, the author of the email, right? So let's say how you should take advantage, and how you can take advantage, and how you should actually have a reply to in all your campaigns. So I'll go to the next screen, which I have noted over here, like, and everybody must have seen this, that all the marketing emails are majorly unidirectional. It's more of like, we have to give message across from the company perspective, from the company to their users. So it's always, majority of the time, it is unidirectional. There is no conversation, right? So so what happened is that in the unidirectional way, obviously, then you play by the rules, you have all the tips and tricks in the book, and you're following everything. What you're missing is that the biggest advantage that we can have is by making this particular campaign bi-directional. And what happened is that when I say it's bi-directional, so what happened is that the users would end up actually replying to your campaign, right? So this would build trust with users. That's the first point, right? And the more important point, this would give more brownie points and more trust signals to the mail service providers, mailbox providers, whether it is Gmail, Yahoo, and all these guys. So MSP loves user engagements like email replies, mail forwards, marking important and all. Email reply tops the game, right? Because then it means that there is a human at the other end, and we are addressing the other human by sending an email to them and expecting to have a conversation, so basically starting a conversation. So we should encourage the users to reply in the marketing mail, especially in the warm up phase. What happens is that when you're in the warm up phase and you're starting a new campaign, there are n number of things we have to take care, whether it is infrastructure wise or content wise. Given the point that you have done everything, ensure that the reply to addresses is there, so that the people or the users can reply, and then the conversation starts. And this gives more good reputation, good sender score, and good sender reputation, and thereby increases the good reputation in the whole warm up phase. And that's it. And that's a great hack, I can say. It's which works practically to improve the sender reputation, and thereby increasing the inbox placement rate drastically. Let me go to the next screen. So again, a bit technical. So this is a screenshot of again some of the samples that I had taken. It would be I would walk you through how exactly it is. So these are the top email headers, the from fields that I have, and if in here the second section you would say these are the reply to fields. So what I want to see is a focus on the last couple of lines, wherein I have mentioned this. I have sampled 31 email addresses, the 31 emails, and out of those 31 emails, obviously every email had a from email field, but 10 missed out. Only 21 emails had reply to field. That's it. So so it's a great opportunity. It's a lost opportunity if you're missing out the reply to, right? And let me take you to the some samples of how the reply to addresses looks like. So these are the emails from that 21 batch. So you can see there is a reply name, then there is a reply email id. Then a lot of places you would find only the reply email id, the reply to id. That's it. So again, a mixed combination, a lot of combination over here, and I would just make it a bit simpler. So I would like to highlight on one particular point here, that even after having these 21 email the campaigns with proper 21 email reply to headers, then to out of those 21, uh, 10 missed out again. So only the 11 guys or 11 companies had actually utilized the reply name. So just imagine if you get a campaign and you try to reply, because obviously the CTA is designed in a way, and you are trying to make it bidirectional. If someone wants to reply to, so it not only gives the proper email address, the reply to email ID, but the from name plays a real important role, because once you click it, so you see that you're actually talking to either a person or a brand. So you're directly connected over here. So it builds trust. That's the so okay. So yeah. So again, let me take you to the next screen. Again, a bit more technical. So here I have given an example of having a different from and different reply to addresses. So a lot of times what happen is that by default, even if they have a reply to address, it is exactly same like the from email id, right? So again, one of the same thing. Yes, you're having a reply to, but it's again one of the same thing. You're not taking it to the advantage. So the biggest advantage is if you're running a campaign, if you're running a campaign for either for jobs, you're running for a marketing campaign, you would like them to actually send a reply to your mail, start conversation, start getting engaged, right, with your brand. And when they start doing it, you don't want to have a messy inbox with you. So you want to stay organized. And it's an if that particular campaign is for billing, or that particular campaign is for marketing or newsletters, or for just for any other purpose basically, so you can have a dedicated different reply to addresses, that I would say, which goes a long way in managing the things, especially in the customer support department, so that it can be taken on priority with what customer has to be taken, and what are their priorities that can be addressed properly. So yeah, I mean, so this would be my recommendations for the reply to field. So always use reply to email header. It builds trust for users by having a proper reply to email addresses. So design an email campaigns to encourage replies using CTAs, like asking binary questions. So here is the hack basically, to actually make your marketing campaign bi-directional by making CTA work for you. So yes, I'm not telling that all your campaign has to be bi-directional, but at least if you're going for 10 campaigns, have 20% campaigns bi-directional nature, so that you can start getting engagement. Let's say if I just say, hey, I have prepared, there is this uh, income report. Basically, there is this income report for the company. Would you like to see it? Just reply yes, right? Or this, what is the thing that we want to do, what you want us to do in the next month, or do you want to us to release this feature or that feature, option 1 or option 2, something like that. Involve your users, involve them, make them participate. And this technically, this makes a very very strong name, because MSP algorithms, again, the mail service providers, these algorithms, they love such kind of things, and they want you to have even better deliverability, because you are actually playing the game properly. You are actually giving respect to your users, and you're not just blasting it. You're not just praying and praying and, okay, fine, I'm just going to, this is my job, I'm going to send out 100k mails and I'll be done with it. That's not the objective, right? So the objective is to engage with users. It's the re-engagement platform, whether you're in a warm-up phase or you're in the proper scaling phase. Make sure to engage with your users and give them and treat them properly. So it improves that email deliverability for sure. I can vouch for that. And then again, use reply name. So do not keep reply name, the string, empty, because as I had said earlier, it is better to have a name so that the user, when they click reply, they can connect with the name, right? They can identify whether it is your brand name or you're as a person. So they should be able to connect and reply. And then again, always think about something like, they should be able to recall it. So the trust establishes. When the trust is established, your next future mails would have more chances of getting read by that particular user, and the more the users are reading it, the better it is for you, and the better the deliverability happens across that particular MSP, right? So yeah, so that's it. So again, coming to the next point, which is like keeping, so it's a hack, like basically the keeping different from and reply to addresses. So different, as I mentioned earlier, different from and reply to email IDs helps organizing the customer support processes. This, if you're this will not be applicable for a small company. I can understand that, but it is 100% applicable for a very big company. If you're having hundreds or if you're having like 500 or 1,000 employees, and if you're a brand and you're having multiple departments, so there are every department is working in its own path, and everybody is having their own way to work. So how would you make sure that your customers and your users basically are getting addressed properly by the correct department? So this is a great way, like, send mails properly. If you're sending a mail for X department or for an X activity, ensure that the reply to ID is different, or a dedicated one, so that when the people are replying, obviously you would be able to address them on a priority basis. So like, if the company is an example I mentioned, if the company ID, from email ID is like campaigns@marketing.abc.com, the reply to ID can be contact us at abc.com. So you can make it as simple as this, right? So it keeps the main from email ID safe from all the unwanted or mixed replies and messages. And you can always have a different combinations of both IDs for different purposes, or for any of the company functions. So yeah, that's it. I mean, it was a quick session. uh, I will just hop into, let me see if there are some questions with hoppin. Okay, let's take some questions. Karen says, uh, question, we are often asked if the reply to is specified. Does the friendly from address need to be a mailable account at the sending domain? Yeah, yeah, hi, yeah, Karen, definitely. So the thing is that, uh, the from address, if it had, I would say, so that my suggestion would be, the from address, the from email address should have a mailing account, a mail account properly. Because if you're not having a reply to, so the better chance is that if someone replies, you should get the mail. But if you're having a reply to, then I would say you don't have to have the from addresses mail account per se. You can, because if someone wants to reply, there is a reply to email header already there, and that would come into the action. Hope that answers the question. Okay, so no more questions over here.
stream. Hi, Zakir. Thank you so much. Ooh, yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, Zakir, for that. But now the questions coming in. There's other questions now. You're going to have to follow up and reach out to them on LinkedIn, linkedin.com, and for search Zakir. So it's not hard. Search Zakir. You'll find Zakir, and I know he's very responsive. And very keen to establish new contacts and share his knowledge. He has got some great hacks, and it's the nuggets you need to listen through for those nuggets. And I think those little nuggets that he lets slip every now and again is part of his secret sauce when it comes to running his own marketing campaigns. And so, yeah, definitely worth watching his session back if you didn't catch it all. And again, thank you very much, Zakir. Coming up next, we've got the founding member of Serval, Raymond Dykehorn, huge speaker, hugely privileged to have him. And he'll also be available to take all of the delegates' questions and the like. So stick around for Raymond. And again, thank you very much, Zakir. Lots of insight there, and pretty technical, and you got into the nitty gritty. So I imagine people are going to want to see the playbacks.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a good night. It's crazy o'clock for you right now, so thank you, and I hope you get
Okay, good night. Bye-bye. Take care.
Good night. Take care.